I worked quietly and changed everything. Not because I was lucky, not because someone helped me, and not because the path was easy, but because I decided to stop seeking attention and start building discipline when no one was watching. I understood that noise gives comfort, but silence builds capacity. So I cut off explanations, stopped announcing plans, and let my actions replace my words day by day. I showed up even when motivation was gone, even when progress felt invisible, and even when quitting would have cost nothing, because that is where character is formed, not in pressure, but in freedom. The freedom to stop and the decision to continue. I trained my mind to stay calm under delay, to stay focused under distraction, and to stay disciplined under temptation. Because uncontrolled emotions create predictable outcomes, and predictable outcomes keep people average while others reacted. I executed while others talked. I refined systems while others chased shortcuts. And slowly, without warning, my standards became habits. My habits became identity. And my identity began producing results without force. I didn't rush success, because rushing exposes insecurity. And I didn't explain absence, because explanations invite doubt. I stayed consistent, knowing that consistency compounds quietly before it becomes obvious. I learned that boredom is not the enemy. It is the entry point to mastery. And those who escape boredom never stay long enough to become dangerous. So I stayed, I repeated, and I refined the same fundamentals until they became automatic. I stopped needing validation because self-trust replaced it. And self-trust is built when you keep promises to yourself under pressure. I watched people burn energy proving themselves while I conserved mine, strengthening focus, patience, and control. And that control became my advantage, because control allows you to move deliberately instead of emotionally. I didn't celebrate small wins publicly, because celebration too early relaxes standards. And standards once relaxed are hard to rebuild. I stayed grounded, understanding that the habits that build you must also protect you long after results appear. And when the outcomes finally surfaced, they didn't shock me, because I had already lived with the discipline that created them. They only shocked the people who mistook silence for weakness. I didn't respond to their surprise, because responses invite conversation, and conversation is unnecessary when reality has already spoken. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong, it was about honoring the version of myself that kept going quietly when no one noticed, when no one cared, and when no one expected anything. And if you are in that phase right now, working without witnesses, misunderstood, and tempted to speak, remember this: silence is not hiding your progress, it is protecting it. Every disciplined day is shaping a future you won't need to explain. So keep working quietly, keep refining your standards, and let time reveal what consistency has already decided. And if this message resonates, subscribe now to Silent Alpha and stay connected, because the next message will arrive exactly when you're ready for it. And once the silence became permanent, the results became predictable, because predictability is what discipline creates when standards stop negotiating with emotions. I stopped asking how I felt and started asking what needed to be done, because feelings change, but commitments don't. And that shift simplified everything. I built routines that carried me on low-energy days, standards that held me steady under pressure, and systems that didn't depend on motivation to function. I learned to sit with delayed rewards without frustration, because impatience reveals a lack of belief in the process. And I believed in mine enough to let time work. Without interference, I became ruthless with distractions, not because I feared missing out, but because I respected what I was building, and focus is the price of progress. I noticed how most people confuse movement with advancement, and urgency with importance, and that confusion keeps them busy without becoming better. So I slowed down, simplified, and repeated the basics until execution became automatic. I didn't seek confidence. I earned it by keeping promises to myself when boredom hit, when doubt whispered, and when comfort tempted me to stop. Early, each follow-through added proof, and proof builds certainty, the kind that doesn't shake when timelines stretch or recognition disappears. I stopped reacting to opinions because opinions don't compound, and progress does, and compounding only works when protected from noise, comparison, and premature exposure. I learned that silence sharpens awareness. You see where effort leaks, where habits slip, and where discipline needs tightening, and that awareness allowed adjustment without drama. I stayed calm under setbacks, extracted the lesson, and returned to the work, because emotion wastes energy, and energy is better spent refining the process. I didn't announce progress because announcements invite distraction, and distraction delays inevitability as days stacked. So did clarity, not loud clarity, but quiet certainty, rooted in self-trust and execution. And when the change finally became visible, it felt normal to me because I had already lived at the standard long before the outcome arrived. And that is the power of working quietly. It prepares you for success before success shows up. And if you're still in that phase, still consistent, still unseen, remember this: the lack of attention is not a sign you're behind. It's proof you're building without interference. And that's how results that last are made. And when the results finally started to show, they didn't feel dramatic or overwhelming. They felt calm, expected, and earned, because I had already become the person capable of producing them long before anyone else noticed. And that is the difference between chasing outcomes and building identity. I didn't rush to speak when people started paying attention, because attention is temporary, but standards must be permanent. I stayed grounded in the same routines that built the foundation, knowing that what creates success must also sustain it, or everything quietly collapses. I learned that many people fail after progress, not before it, because they confuse momentum with mastery and relax discipline the moment things start working. And I refused to make that mistake. I kept my structure tight, my focus narrow, and my days intentional, because consistency is fragile when it's taken for granted. I stopped reacting to praise the same way I stopped reacting to doubt, because both pull you away from execution, and execution is where control lives. I understood that silence at this stage wasn't about hiding. It was about protecting what had been built from ego, impatience, and unnecessary pressure. I moved with restraint, choosing depth over expansion and refinement over reinvention, because mastery is found in doing the same simple things well for a long time, without boredom changing behavior. I measured progress internally by how consistently I honored my standards, not by how others perceived my position. And that internal measure kept me steady. Regardless of external shifts, I didn't feel the need to explain my journey, because explanations invite debate, and debate wastes energy, results, end conversations completely. And as time passed, it became clear that the work done quietly had reshaped everything. My mindset, my tolerance for excuses, and my ability to stay composed under pressure. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. It was about honoring the discipline that carried me when no one was watching, and protecting it now that the spotlight existed. And if you're reaching this phase where progress is visible, but discipline feels optional, remember this: discipline is never optional. It is the price of staying who you became. Keep working quietly, even when it's tempting to speak. Keep refining, even when things feel stable. And trust that the same silence that built everything will continue to protect it, because lasting change doesn't come from noise. It comes from consistency, sustained, long after attention arrives. And even after stability replaced struggle, I didn't loosen my grip on discipline, because stability is where most people slip, thinking the work is done. When in reality, the work has only changed form. I kept the same standards that carried me through the quiet phase, because lowering them would have erased everything they built. I learned that comfort tests character more than hardship ever could, because hardship forces effort, but comfort offers excuses, and I refused to negotiate with either. I stayed intentional with my time-narrowing focus and protecting routine, because routine is what keeps progress alive when urgency disappears. I didn't chase new goals recklessly or reinvent myself for attention. I refined what already worked, because mastery is depth, not noise, and depth requires patience, restraint, and repetition. I became more selective with access, not out of arrogance, but out of responsibility. Because what you allow around you eventually shapes what you become, and I wasn't willing to risk what discipline had earned. I watched others lose momentum once recognition arrived, because they built for validation instead of foundation, and that confirmed everything. I believed the system must always come before the spotlight, and the habits must always outlast the hype. I measured success by alignment, not applause, by consistency, not compliments, and by execution, not excitement. Because excitement fades, but execution compounds. I kept silence as strategy, choosing when to speak, when to move, and when to let results handle the conversation. Because restraint is power, and power used selectively lasts. I understood that growth is maintenance, not arrival. The responsibility to keep showing up, refining and honoring commitments, even when there is no pressure forcing action. And if you're listening to this while things feel steady, while discipline feels optional,